This is TWiT.
Apple and Epic, of course, in a big battle. And then Apple got another kind of black mark when WordPress, the founder of WordPress, a good friend, Matt Mullenweg, we're big fans of WordPress and Automatic, his company. Matt Mullenweg tweeted, "Heads up on why our iOS app, WordPress iOS, updates have been absent. We were locked by the App Store to be able to ship updates and bug fixes again. We had to commit to support in-app purchases." So the app has always been free. It's an app you use to monitor your WordPress site, to post on it, to check comments and things like that. It's a really good app. I use it. You also use it to log in. WordPress has free sites, but they also offer paid sites. And apparently, now there's more. This story is an evolving story. But this is how it started with his tweet. He says, "I know why this is problematic. Open to suggestions. Should I allow others in-app purchases? Should we have a new name?" He believed that the issue from Apple was that he did not have in-app purchases for the paid accounts on WordPress. Apple then responded, no. It was a mistake on our part. It's because in the app you advertise, you mention the paid accounts on WordPress.com, but you don't give users the opportunity to buy those. You either need to, you have two ways to go on this. You either need to offer them a way to buy in-app, and of course Apple takes its 30%, or you need to take any mention of the fact that you have a paid service off of the app. At which point WordPress did that, and the whole thing kind of went away. But it does raise these issues. In this case, I think Apple, they made a mistake. Maybe they should have been. This has been a constant complaint about the App Store. They're not very clear about why they do what they do. Apple apologized and said, you don't have to add purchases. We apologize. We believe the issue with the WordPress app has been resolved. This is the quote. "Since the developer removed the display of their service payment options from the app, it's now a free standalone app and does not have to offer in-app purchases. We've informed the developer and apologized for any confusion." So let me make the case for Apple, and I'll let you guys shoot at me. Since Tim's not sitting here, I might as well be the Tim Cook of the panel. The case is, and I understand this, Apple says, look, a user's using this and sees in the app there is a paid tier but has no way to do it. We think that's a bad experience for users. You either should, if you're going to tell people about it, offer it or not offer it at all. What's wrong with that, Larry?
Well, first of all, I mean, this is a big issue for me, because if you look at any other platform besides mobile, at least any popular platform, i.e. Windows and Mac, pretty much anybody can develop an app and put it out there, and they're on their own, right? Apple had the brilliant idea of the App Store. It was a great idea. It's still a great idea. It brings them a lot of money. But in the words of Steve Jobs, it's an orifice. Jobs, when he announced the iPhone, talked about the telephone companies being orifices. Well, Apple is an orifice in that it is the blockage. It is the way in which, the only effective way in which you can get an app to run on their platform. And so there's a lot of issues. This is just one of them. Monetization is one of them. The other is their decisions to vet apps. Of course, I agree with the security aspect. But, I remember Steve Jobs saying, we have one too many fart apps. And, he's right. You don't need a lot of fart apps. But who is it of Apple to tell people, how much choice they should have on a particular kind of app? So it really brings up the broader question, and a question that kind of came up when Tim Cook, along with the heads of Google and Amazon and Facebook, were up before Congress. But they didn't give them nearly as much of a grilling on this as I think they should have.
Ben, I'm sorry I cut you off. You were about to say something.
I was just going to say that I was so impressed that I heard orifice, blockage, and farts in the same answer.
I guess,
but
we always go high. When you go low, we go high.
No, I think but I totally agree. I think I agree. I mean, I think that the issue here, is that Apple is trying to create a better experience for its users. That's the other side of this two-sided coin, right? Apple is trying to make sure it just works. Like when you use their devices and you use their software, it just works. And so like the WordPress issue, I think you're right, Leo, that it's sort of you come down on the side of Apple there. They're trying to improve the user experience. But it's also interesting when that story came out, right? Which is after the Epic story. So Apple's reaction has to is like within this context of this conversation that's been happening for a long time about how little app makers and huge app makers get charged this big cut that goes to Apple. And I think, it's tough. It's kind of like you fall on one side or the other, right? You're either in favor of a great user experience, or you're in favor of app companies not getting screwed, or at least that's how it's kind of set up. It shouldn't be that way, but it's tough. I think in the case of WordPress, it makes a lot of sense that Apple, wanted the in-app purchase stuff to be available, but at the same time, you look at it as part of the bigger picture, and at least to me, it seems like in trying to create this kind of perfect ecosystem or marketplace where people can purchase software, Apple has now become kind of the big bad guy.
It's kind of funny
there's a problem there.
That Larry should invoke how it happens on desktops, because Apple also invokes that in their defense, because they compare the marketplace for software and desktops to the marketplace for software on iOS, and they say, see how chaotic it is, and you have to have a distributor, and the distributors took more than 30%. We take a very small, reasonable cut for our services, including download bandwidth and carefully vetting the apps and so forth. So that's why Apple's telling courts, we're better. The App Store is better than the desktop marketplace, not worse than the desktop marketplace. It's certainly more restrictive. And I should also point out that there's some question about whether Apple's response is disingenuous, because, and this is a later story from Sean Hollister in The Verge. He says, Matt Mullenweg of WordPress says that they'd already stripped out the plans section. It wasn't in the current version. There was no mention of paid plans. Mullenweg told The Verge that he'd previously offered to strip other mentions of the paid plans out of the app, even workarounds, like when a user views a preview of their own WordPress web page and then navigates to WordPress.com, and Apple rejected those suggestions. So it sounds like Apple, realizing it probably wasn't the best optics, decided to back down, even though maybe initially they hadn't. Devindra, do you have a sense of what happened?
I think it is the uproar. Like if Matt Mullenweg didn't tweet about the situation and tell us what was happening, I'm pretty sure Apple would have just stuck to its guns. But yeah, the situation is confusing because it's hard for developers to tell how Apple applies its rules sometimes. And
it seems
sometimes
very
it's just like
capricious. It's
very opaque, and sometimes I've heard from developers like Apple will just say, this is how it is, deal with it, and you really can't fight back. And this is the one situation where, public sentiment and certainly reporting about this has maybe pushed Apple in one direction. It is weird that, he didn't really have to change anything because he already took away the paid mentions in the app. Apple still rejected it, which is that to me is the confusing part. Like, why was that the case? What is different now? And Apple apologizing, that's certainly a new thing for them, especially to a developer.
Sean Hollister writes, Apple. Hold on a second. Hold on. And Sean Hollister in Verge writes, Apple simply seems to have decided that trying to extract its cut from a free app by forcing in-app purchases isn't a hill worth dying on today.
Seriously.
Today. Yeah. All right. Go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, no, I just want to respond to what you had said. I mean, you're absolutely right that Apple will say and does say that they're creating a less chaotic, better experience, and that's probably true. But it's what monopolists have always said. If you go back to AT&T prior to 1982, one of their arguments is that if we break up the phone company, everything's going to fall apart. And when we need this, this paternalistic company to make sure that everybody's got good phone service. So I'm not saying that that's completely untrue, but it's sort of what I would expect a company like Apple to say. And there really isn't a free marketplace when it comes to the ability to distribute. And, then the question becomes, if there were a free marketplace, maybe there would be lower prices. We just don't know.